From different paths to the same calling, 3 Superior Court Clerks from Putnam, Morgan, and Jones counties sit down with us on Civic Hub. Together, they share what drives their commitment to public service, reflect on the political dynamics that shape county government, and explore the importance of integrity, leadership, and the vision for the future of their communities. This is Civic Hub, where local leaders share the stories behind their service. All right, so this week on Civic Hub, I have the honor of having a delegation of elected Superior Court Clerks from Georgia. Thanks for coming on, guys. Take a minute, introduce yourselves so the listeners can understand who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Chris, for having us. It's great to be here in Dallas. And my name is Trevor Addison. I'm the clerk of Superior Court for Putnam County, Georgia. We have a population of about 23,000 people. This is the first year of my second term, so I'm in year 5 as clerk there.
Wonderful. Thanks, Trevor.
Jody Higdon. I'm the elected clerk of Morgan County. Thanks for showing us around the facility. It's pretty awesome. I'm probably been the longest serving clerk that's here today. I'm in my 21st year. So serve the citizens of Morgan County, love it, and it's been awesome. So thanks again.
Thank you.
And I'm Pam Dixon, and thank you very much for having us here. I'm with Jones County, starting my 6th year, and we have a population of 29,000.
Very good. And just so everybody listening, the term in office is how long for you guys in Georgia?
4 years.
Every 4 years, you have to go through an election cycle.
Correct.
Wonderful. Have you guys noticed that election cycles are getting a little more challenging in your election time, or has it been kind of the same for you? We'll probably start with you since you've had a few elections.
Yeah. So the first time that I ran, there were 4 of us that ran. And of course, I had to go through the primary and then to the general. So that was challenging. The clerk retired, which was the longest year of my life, honestly. I mean, it was a lot. And then I didn't have any opposition for 2 terms. And then I got opposition as the incumbent, which is a whole different bag of tricks. It's hard not to take that personal. You feel like they're coming for your job, you know? So that's a lot different. Our county is also really expanded and it's growing, and there's just so many people that are moving in. Like used to 20 years ago when I was elected, I knew probably 60 to 70% of the jurors that showed up for jury service. And now I probably know 30%. It's really changed a lot, and, you know, just people moving in. I mean, it's just, so yeah, that part of it's changed. And just overall, I think, so yeah, it has changed. Everything seems to be a lot more political than it used to be.
I agree with that. And, I come from my background prior to being elected as clerk is I was the vice chairman of the Board of Commissioners, so I was elected 2 terms there. And of course, when you're a county commissioner, a lot of what you do is political. There's a lot of political decisions at play, and you affect a lot of different areas of the county as a commissioner. As clerk, our jobs really aren't political; they shouldn't be. We're here to serve the public. We're not passing bills or high profile legislation as clerks when it comes to the masses of the county. But for me, being a county commissioner was very political. But running for clerk was a little bit different. But I will say my first term, when I qualified to run as clerk, I did have opposition of the opposite party, so I had to run a general election. So we qualified in March. We had to run through November. And I thought, well, this ain't going to get ugly. It's the clerk of Superior Court. There's nothing political about it. Well, I was wrong. And politics can be dirty, as we know. That's unfortunate, but it's especially difficult at the local level. You wouldn't think so. You would think it gets more difficult as you get higher. But the more local your position is, the closer you are to the constituent. You know these people. You go to dinner with them. You go to the grocery store with them. You've grown up with them. You've worked with them for years. And so it's personal.
Yeah, it's almost probably harder in a smaller community to be an elected official than in a large community because you can kind of hide in, a county of 1 million people. But when your county only has 20,000 people, you probably know those people making those comments about you.
Correct. And I would say for about y'all, my wife, who's been with me for every single election, it's really hard on her.
Yeah.
We can take it. we're built for that. We wouldn't be here interviewing with you now, 21 years if we couldn't take that. But it's different for your family. They didn't necessarily sign up for the political aspect of
Yeah.
your job, but it comes with it. And having to have those conversations with your family can be tough.
Yeah.
You know things are going to be flying at you during the campaign, and you got to prep your family for that. So that can be challenging.
Good. What about in Jones County?
I have a very different background and experience. I came in, my predecessor retired 2 years into his last term. So my very first run was as an incumbent, and I've not had any opposition. So that's been, hope saying that doesn't bring somebody out. But it's been, it was not on my wheelhouse to become a clerk, but I have really loved it. It's really nice to work for all the people who built you, raised you. I was I got to my county when I was 3 and have been there ever since. Married high school sweetheart. Kids are still in county. We have a running joke in Jones County. If you're here, you just don't leave. I don't know why it's like that, but it's been really nice though, helping the people that I have been with my whole life.
Yeah, that's a good segue into what kind of drew you guys into that life of civic service to become clerk. I think earlier you said when you were in high school, you would drive by the courthouse on your way to cheerleading practice and you saw the light on in the courthouse and was wondering, maybe you knew who that was. You probably didn't know what they were doing. You were curious about it. So maybe talk a little bit about the role that you guys play at the county level and what drove you to become clerk.
Well, I did real estate prior to being elected clerk, and I would go into the county offices. This is prior to electronic. Everything now is digital and everything's online. And so I'd go in there and look up comp sales. And, so it took me to the tax assessor's office. It took me to planning and zoning. It took me to the commissioners to look up certain things. It took me to the clerk's office. And I would just go in there and knowing everybody that I knew, they would just say, hey, you need to think about running. You need to think about running. Elaine, she's going to retire. And Elaine, a few years back, let's back up a little bit, had hired me to do some accounting because I went to University of Georgia. And that's what I primarily was into was accounting. And she hired me to do some trust money accounting for her, money that she has to hold in trust. So I kind of helped her audit her books and figure out where some of that money went and that kind of thing. And from there, it was just, I was like, I'm just going to go, stick with my real estate. And, that was my main focus. So, but she came to me later as well and said, hey, how about run? I'm not going to run again. Why don't you come back to work for me, finish up these books, and then you can go on the ballot as an incumbent. And I was like, I don't really think so. It kind of didn't work well for me when I was there before. So I just said, if I decide to run, I'll just run. Honestly, I was blowing it off. I just really wasn't thinking about running. Real estate was great. I mean, it was very good in our area at that time. So then the county commissioners, then the chairman of the commissioner came to me and they were like, just run. Naively, I thought, okay, I'm gonna throw my name in that. I'll, I had people come up to me all day, every day. I'll pay you your qualifying fee. Do this, do that. The county, the people, the players. So I'm like, sure. So I don't know what I thought, honestly. I mean, at the time, I was 30 years old. So I said, okay, sure, qualified to run. Well, I didn't know three other people were going to qualify too. So then at that point, it became I'm not losing. I don't know that it was so much about the job as it was about I'm not going to be beat. This is a small town. I mean, I got to work. No one's beating me. I'm going to win this. So I worked hard. I campaigned all year. I had Republican opposition, then Democrat opposition. And so I went the whole year. So it was a rough year. It was a long year. A lot of walks. And that's when you actually walked through neighborhoods and knocked on doors and, cold to cold. I mean, it was true campaign, which was really great. It was a building year for me. It taught me so much about um, speaking in public. I mean, we actually held forums where they would just not pre screen questions, like the public got to fire at you, and
Yeah, it
you
was
you had to ask why you wanted this. So I had to kind of back up once I'd already jumped into the race and kind of, okay, let me figure out what she does. I mean, kind of thing.
yeah.
So, I mean, just truthfully, I just jumped in not knowing really what I was doing. And it worked out well, but I did think at the time, in the back of my mind, I'll probably keep doing the real estate because I'll have time. I'll have this place whipped into shape in no time, and I'll just keep doing it. I don't know what I thought. But I quickly figured out I knew nothing, less than nothing, and walked in my first day to grand jury. And I guess I didn't even think about the court side, honestly. I was more so in tune with the real estate side because that's what I did. I was in
Yeah.
for a shock.
You're like, what's court?
Yeah. Yeah. And grand jury. And the DA's looking at me, hey, do you have any appointments for this board? Do you have it? And I'm like, boards? I'm in charge of board. What do I have? I mean, I'm like, I was literally caught with my pants down. I knew nothing. But I love a challenge, and I just dug in and learned a lot. And it was like drinking from a fire hose, quite honestly. I mean, just a lot of information, a lot of things that I had no idea about. But it worked out great because then 2008 hit and real estate really hit the potty. So um, I don't know. I don't know how things happen like they happen, but I'm definitely where I belong.
Yeah.
And it's takes a special person to do what we do all day every day
Yeah.
because there's so many different things, which is what I love about it. No 2 days are the same. It's always something different. It's always something challenging, and it's always something constantly moving. And I would have been bored out of my mind doing real estate probably long term. So that's how
Great.
it's worked out for me.
Love it. Trevor, what about you?
Well, I think most of us have an event that happened in our time as either growing up or as a young adult that you really remember that may have changed you. Some people remember the JFK assassination for here in Dallas. For me, it was 9/11, and I was 11 years old. I remember that day. I'm pretty sure you all know exactly where you were that day. And for some reason, I was glued to the news as an 11-year-old. And I began realizing that there's all these people in leadership positions, elected positions, who are making decisions for me and my family. Just immediate, off the cuff decisions that would affect the masses of the United States. That's a big picture for 11-year-old to see. But I realized then, I said, one day I want to be at the decision table. I don't want to always be receiving the decisions and living under, everyone else's thoughts or processes. And so I thought, I want to do something. I want to be the person making decisions and helping the community out in some way. I didn't know what that looked like. So fast forward a few years, I began to have that desire again to work and to serve my community. And I realized, I'm a news guy. I watch Fox News every day, all day, and my poor wife has to deal with that. And I realized I knew more about the United States government, economy, international affairs than I did my own county. And so I decided one day, I'm like, you need to know what's going on in Putnam. You live right here,
Yeah.
and you don't even know who your county commissioner is.
Yep.
And so I began going to county commission meetings. I went to every single meeting, so much so they used to call me the adjunct commissioner because I attended more meetings than some of the commissioners did. And one day, I had in that time frame, I met who my commissioner was, and he decided that he was going to retire out. And he asked me one day if I would run. Well, he asked me if I ever planned on running for elected office. And I felt in my gut that the answer is yes. One day I would run. I felt like I had that in me. And he said, well, when? And I looked at the board, and they're all gray-haired and over 70. And I said, well, it looks like when I retire, and I have time, He said, well, what about next year? I thought, whoa, I mean, I'm 24 years old. There's no way I can run a campaign and be a commissioner. I'm just now figuring out what a county commission is. And he said, I really want you to think about it. So ultimately, I ran 2 terms, ran unopposed. So that was great. And
So you were 24 when you came into office?
25 when I came in. I was 25 years old. I was the youngest commissioner in the state of Georgia at the time. And during our new commissioner training, they had a picture of me and the oldest, who was 88, and I was 24. We had our pictures together. But during that time, I learned so much, because as a county commissioner, you learn a little bit about every aspect of the county.
Yep.
But during those 6 years as county commissioner, and I became vice chairman, I got to meet Sheila Perry, who was my predecessor as clerk. She was the clerk of Superior Court for Putnam County for 24 years. Served our county very well, and I would be one of the commissioners that would approve her budgets. So our conversations weren't always great. We didn't always get along. We disagreed on a few things, but we had a good working relationship. And over time, that blossomed. And so much so, we began going on vacations together. We have mutual friends, and ended up having a great friendship that lasts to this day. But one day she came to me. We were camping. We have a camping group. We all go camping various times of the year, and she said that she was going to retire. Well, we had all heard that for 3 terms. She was going to retire.
That's a typical elected official. This is my last
This
year.
is my last year.
I
my
don't
last
know
term.
how many times I've heard that.
Yes, me either. And I'm like, she's not going to retire. Well, at the time, I was working at Georgia Military College, chasing a career there. I knew exactly what position I wanted at GMC. I had a good relationship with the president of the college, who was a 3-star general, and was really pursuing that position. And I loved that, and also being the dabble into politics, being the county commissioner part-time. So I feel like I was in the perfect realm. I had my aspiration to be in chief of staff at Georgia Military College. I was working towards that, but I also got my taste of politics in Putnam County, being a commissioner. So being in the clerk of Superior Court was never a thought in my mind. Like, that's nothing I would ever think about running for. And I really didn't take Sheila seriously, because I was like, you're not going to retire. You've been saying that for 6, 7 years now. Well, a year goes by, around another camping trip, and she looks at me and says, Trevor, I'm telling you, this is my last year. And she said, I really want you to think about it. I think you could be a good clerk. So although I didn't know what that meant, I thought the opposite. I thought all they did was go to court. And then when there was no court, there was nothing to do. Boy, was I wrong. Court's the least of your problems. So I was torn. And so I met with I just talked with my family, talked with my wife, Pilar. And I said, I think the decision is you run. I'm going to run. And if I lose, I know I'm supposed to be at Georgia Military College. And if I win, I'm supposed to be the clerk of Superior Court, Putnam County. But if I lost, I still need my job at GMC. And so I had to have that hard conversation with a 3-star general. I thought it was going to be a really tough decision. I went up to his office upstairs in the old state capitol building in Milledgeville, Georgia. And I said, General Call, I need to talk to you. And he motioned me in. I explained to him the dilemma I was in. And I said, I feel torn as to what path I need to be on. So I've decided I'm going to run for clerk of Superior Court, Putnam County. But I want you to know that if I lose, I'm 100% all in the GMC. It's not that I want to leave. It's that I'm torn as to what path my life should go on. He immediately said, I want you to run. You have my full support. And so long as I'm president, you always have a job at GMC. Because the goal there was to create future leaders, even if they left. And so
that's what he was doing. Yeah.
That's right. And me, I was thinking, he's going to think I don't want to work here. So he's like, matter of fact, you can run, and you can go ahead and leave today.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be here, we don't need you now. We've all heard those stories. People put their 2 weeks notice in, your boss says, well, you can actually go ahead and leave, And luckily that wasn't the case. But I qualified to run on Monday at 9 a.m. I'm always the first one in Putnam County to qualify. There's no secret as to, I wonder if Trevor's running. I've always been the first one to qualify. And Monday went by, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no one. And then Friday at 11 a.m., our cutoff time is noon on Friday to qualify for any position you want to run for. At 11 a.m. on that Friday, my opponent qualified. And so I thought, I'm going to run the 3rd term being elected with no opposition. Well, that wasn't the case. That was a whole new dynamic, as Jody was saying, of now I'm 26, 27. and now I've got to run against somebody. Now, prior to that, I had helped on campaigns. It's a lot easier going door to door, knocking on doors, supporting a candidate for office in the background, putting up signs, putting out push cards, you know, telling your friends, well, Jody's running for office and here's what she stands for. But when it's you, it's a lot different. And so that was a challenge I had to face, and it ended up working out, and we won the election 70% to 30%. So that was great. But there was no set path for me on becoming clerk. It was not in the playing cards for me. It wasn't something I was working towards. I figured I'd be elected. I felt like I wanted to do that very young. I didn't know what position that was going to be, but I had no idea that being a county commissioner would lead me to being the clerk of Superior Court because of relationships, which are very important what we do.
Yeah. So you're not the first elected official I've interviewed that has had that calling. I think at 11, we were speaking with Michael Willis, the Tulsa County Clerk in Oklahoma, and he had a very similar story. I think he was somewhere between 10 and 12 years old, and he was something that moment happened, and he's like, I want to be part of the decision-making process. So he had that drive kind of at that same age to know that he wanted to go into civic service and public government sector stuff. So very interesting. And for you, let's hear your story.
So I started pretty young in a neighboring county with indigent defense, and that was my very first government job. It was very fun. It was very interesting. It was
So for those listening, do you want to explain what indigent
Sorry.
defense is?
Yes, that is
Because that's a very important job.
it is. People who are arrested and accused can't afford an attorney, so that at that time there were several attorneys on this board, and they rotated cases, and we put those people with the attorneys, and it's what my office did. It was a very eye-opening experience.
Yeah.
I was very sheltered,
Yeah.
never in any trouble, didn't know anything about the criminal world, and here I am
Thrown right into it.
going into the jail, into a room half the size of this with a table and 2 chairs and that defendant. And at that time, this was Bibb County, a murder was huge. It didn't happen often, but there were rapists that I talked to, there were burglars, there were, the whole gamut. And I was in there with that person behind a locked door, and the whole clink when it shuts. Yeah, the whole thing. That was pretty wild. From there, the district court administrator for that district was in the same office, and then he wound up asking me if I would like to work for him, and I did. And so that turned me into the realm of case count, which we all know as clerks. That has followed me from that moment through every job I've had until now clerk. And so that is where we actually count cases, and it qualifies the number of judges by their caseload and how many judges are in a circuit. So in that role, I met Bart Jackson, which was my predecessor, because I needed to help one of his fellow clerks who had just come into clerking and didn't have time to do his case count. So I started doing it. Then Bart was like, well, will you help me? And so that for many years, I did his case count. And from that, he had a person retire. We have a very low turnover. And when he had his civil clerk retire, he asked me if I wanted to come work there. So I started as civil clerk. So I knew criminal, and now I'm learning civil. Knew nothing about real estate. So that's been a big change. But knew my job as civil clerk pretty well. And then when he decided to retire, asked me if I wanted to step up to that position. And I thought, sure, it's not going to be that big a deal. Well, that chair is a whole different beast. I had no idea all the different things that come into clerking other than when I was just doing civil work. That's what got me here. It wasn't a plan. I had no plan to do this. And in politics is the furthest thing today from my like. I do not like politics. I'm much more the civil servant.
Very
I
good.
love working for the people in my county and helping them muddle through whatever case scenario they're working through.
And your counties are all about 20,000 people, 20 to 30,000 people?
Yes.
29.
Yeah.
29. Very good. And just for the folks listening, it's all within a couple hours of Atlanta, but the kind of the outside rural areas,
Yeah, we're in the dead center of the state.
dead center of the
Mhm.
state.
Yep.
Very good. What do you think some of the challenges that your offices currently face looking forward to the future? Like what keeps you up at night? What are you focused on?
I think it's not going to be what everyone thinks. A lot of people think it's going to be something in your office, a challenge. There's always challenges every day. But I think for me, I won't speak for them. I'll let them do that. But for me, the challenge is the state legislature. Every year, there's a decision made because someone has an issue across the state, and they think they're going to solve a problem with a one size fits all for every county in all 159 counties. And it's just not the way of doing things. So we spend a lot of our time. Our session for our state legislature is January through March, and so a lot of us spend a lot of our time correcting bills, fighting bills, or trying to fix unintended consequences of past bills because of people making decisions that haven't fully vetted them, or they're really trying to do the right thing by passing this bill, but they don't understand the full gamut of what's about to take place because of that. So I think my largest challenge as a clerk is trying to get elected officials at the Capitol to understand what we do, so that when there is a bill that comes across their desk, a one size fits all solution is not the way to go. You may have an issue in one area of the state, but that doesn't mean there's a systemic issue across all counties in the state of Georgia. And so for me, it's been dealing with that. And a few of us have served on the legislative committee for our association. But regardless of that, each one of us has relationships with our legislators. That's a good thing to have. But that doesn't mean everyone up there understands what we do. So I think education is a big part of that. But it's like drinking water from our fire hose, January through March, every day.
So
dozens
that's the
upon
busy season for everybody.
Well, that's when they're in session. And so every day we're online looking for the word clerk for every single bill that could possibly be dropped. And then you're trying to read it, interpret it. What does that mean for us? How's it going to affect us positively or negatively? And then how do we react?
How many bills are filed annually? Do you know?
Thousands. This in the state. Because you have the Senate and the House, just like you would in Congress and in DC. So you're watching both sides of that. And not every bill gets legs, but you have to know which ones to put your energy towards and which ones you should let go on. You can't fight everything. You got to pick and choose your battles. But I think for us, us as a clerk body, we can almost help anyone. If I can reach out to fellow clerks right now with a problem on this phone and have an answer in seconds. Whether it be text or email, the clerk body as a whole for the state of Georgia, and I hope it's like that for every state in the U.S., but we're very much supportive of each other. So as far as problems in the office, we all face them. Our populations may be different, but we all face the same challenges every day. But we also pretty much control the morale in our office by who we hire, our teamwork atmosphere. We can handle all that. It's the outside issues that we don't directly control, that we have to be proactive in preventing or reactive if we didn't catch it up front. And so for me, it's the unintended consequences of bills that could reshape our offices if we're not careful.
Yeah, that's a good one. I don't think anyone previous episodes has kind of brought that up.
And piggying back off of that, unfunded mandates, when they pass these bills and they don't necessarily think about the cause and effect, what the manpower it will take in order for the clerks to meet the requirement of the bill they just passed. And then, you got to get with your commissioners and you got to make sure that you can do all that. You have the staffing for it. You have the technology for it. It's a snowball effect. And that's a lot of times that just kind of just gets glazed over and nobody thinks about that and they don't think about that long term. So it's a big part of our job, very large part of our job. And you just have to remain vigilant and be alert and really and foster those relationships. Like you need to have your legislators' phone numbers, their cell numbers, personal. So, when things drop at the Capitol, you can call them because, a lot of times they're up there, they're busy, they're running around the Capitol, they're, in hearings themselves, and they don't necessarily know when this bill is going to be voted on. And so you can text them and say, hey, they just moved it to this room, at this time. And a lot of times, I've been watching a live feed and seeing my rep run in the room and go, hey, I'm here. I just left another hearing, and, I've heard from my clerk, and this is how we need to vote, kind of thing. So that's a big challenge.
Very good. Anything you'd like to add?
I don't think so. I think that's
I think the main goal for me has been to educate my senator and rep to, I know it's going to be a shocker, but there's no way for them to read all the bills, right?
Yeah.
They're looking for a group of people or a committee that they trust to support a bill. And, we all build relationships. So, like, if Jody supported a bill wholeheartedly, I could almost say that I would, because I know her morale, her values. We see things alike. I trust her judgment. So I'd be comfortable in that situation too. And that's no different for them. But my goal has been is to educate them so much so that where I'm trying to catch the bills on my end, but if they see the word clerk, they better call their clerk.
Yeah.
And ask about it.
Yeah.
Before they sponsor a bill or act on it.
So speaking about education, this is kind of the time we can shine on what actually is your role. If you had, say 5 minutes to explain to a new resident that's just moved into Putnam County, how would you explain what you do?
Yeah, it's a challenge. That's all. It seems so simple, right? It's also a big challenge to
Yeah.
understand. We all have probably hosted school classes in the courthouse, and you get that question all the time. And I always start off by saying, we're the record keepers of the entire county. We're the of records, custodian of records for the entire county. And I always put up the Georgia Code section that outlines all of our duties, which is in print about the size 2 font, and it's about a half a mile long. But then I always tell them, I'm not gonna make you read this. In the end, my job is to protect your records of this county, and that's Superior Court, State Court, Juvenile Court, all your real estate transactions, notary publics, trade names, things like that. We also do to complete the jury, or the jury managers. But ultimately, we're there to serve them and to preserve history, and to support our colleagues. The whole judicial system would not work without all of us, but it certainly wouldn't work without us.
Right.
We may have some judges listening into this. They may not like this, but a judge can rule on the bench all they want to. A judge can rule on a divorce all they want to on the bench. The last words they say is, "This is not final until the clerk of Superior Court file stamps this in and files it in their records." Nothing is official without us,
Right.
and our team, which I think we should also mention in here is how valuable our team is.
Yeah. Talk a minute about your teams. How big are your teams in your offices?
I have a team of 6 ladies right now, and much like the sheriff's office, our teams are deputized to act as us. They take an oath every 4 years, just like I do. I give it to them. Their terms end when my terms end. If I get reelected, they'll take a new oath, just like I do. But they are there to act as us. There's no way that I can see every document. There's no way I can send out every notice or sign everything with my signature on it. There's no way I can do that. What's very important is hiring a team of people that are loyal to you, understand your role, and are there to support you and understand the mission of the office. And with a team of 6, that's a slim crew, but they're very efficient, very loyal, and trustworthy. And I have no problem being in Dallas today, knowing the doors are open and they're doing things on my behalf every second. But we couldn't do it without them.
Yeah.
And if our offices weren't run well with a good team, we couldn't be here today.
Anything you like to add to that?
Trevor hit most of the high points. You're only as strong as your weakest link, plain and simple. And it's a challenge in small offices because not only everybody that I interview, when I interview them, I tell them, hey, half of your job is to do your job. The other half is to get along. It takes one bad apple to spoil the bunch. I have 7 staffers, and when you have that, especially women, in a room together, working but that closely together, women are emotional creatures. I mean, you're going to have, whatever happens at home is going to affect them at work. I mean, it's just,
Yeah, it's a close community.
yes, it really very much is. So, you don't start out as friends. And I tell them that, you're not going to start out as friends, but, I have a great staff. And I've been there long enough to see that when I came in, it's funny how it's kind of flipped. When I came in at the time, I was the youngest clerk in the state. I was 31 to ever be elected. And that was in 2004. And everybody that worked for me were my parents' age. I mean, they were like, I was to my staff, I was, yes, ma'am. Yes, to my staff, because that's how I was raised, so that was very
interesting dynamic.
Very interesting, and I knew that I came in thinking, these ladies think which I didn't know anything. They were right. I didn't know anything, but they were great. I mean, I had great staff, but they all kind of retired at the same time. So I had to start over. And now my staff has been there like 6, 7, 8 years. So they're more seasoned and they're coming back in. So I've seen it kind of full cycle around. And I've been the youngest and now I'm the oldest and, that kind of thing. So, but we couldn't. I mean, it takes being surrounded by people that share your goals and truly care about you and care about the citizens like you do, because we couldn't do this job if you didn't care about your community, you didn't care about your citizens. It's a calling. I mean, I don't know of any clerk that I've ever talked to, and in 21 years, every election cycle you lose some, you get some new ones. You form relationships, and some people get beat out in elections, and then you're like, I don't really want to be friends with them because I was friends with that clerk and they got beat, that kind of thing. And not just that, it goes to the sheriffs, the tax commissioners, the probate judges, all 4 constitutional officers. So you form these relationships and you form these bonds, and it's hard every election cycle to see them, people come and go. But during that time, it also teaches you that it really is a calling, because of all in my 21 years of all these clerks and all these other constitutional officers, I don't know of any of them that have said, other than probably a sheriff, said, yeah, I've always wanted to be sheriff. Nobody ever goes, I always want to be clerk. I always want to be the tax commissioner. I mean, I've never heard that in 21 years. I've never heard anybody say. It's always kind of like, well, and it all comes down to just being a calling. I mean, because it's a very thankless job. I mean, it truly is. All the time on social media, you see people taking breakfast to the sheriff's department. They feed the deputies. They take cases of water because the deputies are out working. And that's great. I mean, I think it's great. You should support your community. But clerk's offices just don't get that. We don't have arrest powers. Let's just call it like it is. So they don't need to smooth our wheels or grease our wheels like, the sheriff a lot of times get. But we're always behind the scenes, and we're the people that, my nickname, everybody through being here, as long as I've been here, you kind of nickname people. People get, nicknames. I've been doomed the godmother of the courthouse. Like, you want to see something happen, go to her. She'll make it happen. And I'm like, well, is that because politically or because they're afraid I'm going to crack their knees? I mean, I'm not really sure. So, and people laugh and they go, well, some of both. They know that, you're going to make it happen. So yeah, for me, it's just that, you just got to surround yourself with good people, and just, it's a calling. I mean, you just can't, I can't explain it. I can't explain. If you ask my college roommates, they thought I'd be an elected official. Probably not.
They'd be like, absolutely not.
Yes, exactly.
She's not made for politics.
Exactly. So, and here we are.
Yep.
And even when I went to the new clerks training, I'll never forget it. In November of 2004, youngest clerk ever to be elected. And even the people there, the people training us and all that, they were like, it became a big joke. And it was like, oh, she's going to be a one-termer. She's going to be a one-termer. She'll go back to real estate. She'll be a one-termer.
I know a lot of one-termers that are well into over 25 years of service.
Yeah.
Some of them 30.
Yeah, well, I'm one of those.
Yeah.
So, and people ask me, are you going to run again? And I say, I could be here. Yeah, this could be my last term, or it could be, I could be here 10 more years. I mean, who knows? Because life changes quickly.
It does.
But you have to love it. You just have to.
Yeah, I think we have a unique opportunity with the public, and I say that because when the stigma of walking into a government office to the average citizen is like a daunting task. Like who wants
It
to?
is. It's a little scary. You don't know what goes on in there.
And let's be honest, not everyone's real receptive to you walking in anyway. Catapult that to where our offices are in or around the courthouse. And there's not many good reasons to walk into a courthouse. Yes, you may be doing an adoption, so a sad situation that ended up good. You may be going to probate, getting married. Perhaps that's good, hopefully. But when they come into the clerk's office, it's usually not because they're at their best moment in life. They're going through a challenging season. And I tell my team, that citizen may ask you the same question 10 times. They may be a little bit rude, but understand you're only seeing this much of their life. And we don't know how they got here, the cases they're in, what's going to happen to them, and they don't either. But what we can do is make their experience the best it can possibly be. And you don't get that from any government offices. So one of my pride points is changing the customer service tactic from our office. Not that it was bad, but that we overly extend ourselves to assist with a smile on our faces. Attitude is everything. And, she talked about when she interviews people, I'd rather interview someone with a positive attitude than an experience any day. I can't train what you feel like when you walk out your door, but I can train you how to do the job. And number one pillar of our mission is customer service. But I think in the courthouse, if you walk in the courthouse, I may be partial, but everyone wants to come to the clerk's office because it's a good atmosphere. People are going to talk to you. We're going to smile at you. We're going to work with you. And most government offices cannot say that. They have no desire to work towards that.
Yeah.
It's just a job for them. And we may be at work 8, 9, 10 hours a day. It's not just a job to us. And I don't hire anybody that has that mentality. I'm not interested in coming to work and doing the same thing for 8 hours. So we're looking to further, extend our customer service. What else can we do for our community besides, we're not just going to file paperwork and schedule calendars and get the juries in and do the tax appeals. What else can we do?
Yeah.
To make an impact for years to come, even when we're gone.
Yeah.
So having that mindset and vision and having a team to go with that is important. But being able to help the public with that, so I'd say Chick-fil-A attitude, and those in Georgia know exactly what that is. I think is very important.
I think that's spreading around the world. There's a lot of people addicted to Chick-fil-A now.
I'm addicted to Chick-fil-A, yes. That's God's chicken right there.
It is. Absolutely. It is. And it's not just the chicken. Like you said, it's the experience, and you're taking that journey for these individuals that are coming into the courthouse. We had a county judge in not too long ago that goes around and makes it a point to meet with all the counter clerks and all of the staff that was on the court side of the courthouse to say, this is almost a little ministry experience for you, because these people are coming and they're showing up kind of at a time of need, and you shouldn't be judging them, and you should be kind of extending that experience out to them, because maybe they're there, maybe they're losing their kids that day, they're going through family law court, you might be a bogus case, might be a real case, but this is a time of need for them, and you've got to not judge them and have a pretty open mind and be there for that Chick-fil-A level of service to really help them through that moment in time.
Well, you can't forget what Jody said. Your life can change in a second.
Yeah.
And it can be your family. And we can't forget that.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. It's just, like the golden rule. I mean, just treat other people like you want to be treated. I think that's the common thread with most clerks, is that we truly just want to help people. You want to help them. You want to, whatever that might entail. But you ask, like, if somebody asks you in a nutshell what you do, which I get asked that all the time. What do you do? What does
Yeah.
clerk of court do? And I just tell everybody, okay, look, if you get a summons in the mail that you dread, called a jury summons, that's coming from me. Okay. If you want to get a passport, come see me. If you want to be issued a notary public, come see me. If you want to divorce your wife, come see me. And if you kill her, you're going to get to come see me. So that's our office in a nutshell right there. I mean, that's about as much as I can sum it up. And so, and I said, and anything else in between, if you buy an ATV or a lawnmower, it's coming through our office. So yeah, I'll tell people all the time, hey, my husband will say, you're so nosy. And I'm like, I get paid to be nosy. I get paid to be nosy.
Yeah.
I mean, who else can say that?
Yeah, you're injected into all of that.
Yes. I mean, and honestly, people will stop you and they just, grocery store confessions, I call them. Small town, okay? You go small town. My two children learned early on that mom doesn't go in the grocery store after 5. We're going to stop by after school. I see my kids in there with my kids. My daughter literally at 8 was like, what's your pen? She's going to go in. She's going to grab this stuff. She's going to go through the little checkout because she doesn't want me to go in there because she knows it's going to end up with me on aisle 6 between the bread and the milk. And somebody's going to be like, well, you know what happened to my daughter last night? Well, you know what happened to my son? And they think you know every detail of whatever happened the night before when you really don't, because we're processing so much paperwork. You don't have a clue. And you just stand there and talk to them for a few minutes and, but that's everywhere. I think that's every clerk's, that's our life. I mean,
Sure.
So you never get to eat a hot meal because they're always going to walk over your day. I don't want to bother you. But yeah. So, but it gets in your blood.
Yeah, that's another very important thing when you hire staff. Most of what's in our office is public. I mean, unless it's an adoption, a juvenile case, or sealed by a judge, it's open to the public at all times. But that doesn't mean you want to be the gossip gazette of the county,
Right.
or as divorce filings come in, or something sensitive comes in, you're sitting there with a megaphone on social media and texting all your friends, right?
Oh yeah.
And there's been stories of that happening, and I've
Yeah.
dealt with some of that. I won't go into details, but I have dealt with some of that, and had to react to it.
Yeah,
And
it's hard for some people when they come across that interesting information to keep it confidential.
That's right, and it's very important. I always tell them, if roles were reversed, would you want to walk in this office, have to file a document that kind of puts your dirty laundry out there because there's no way around it when you left? Would you want to feel confident that, that's going to stay there in the clerk's office unless somebody does their own search, or you leave there thinking, gosh, they're all talking about me now and it's about to be on social media and beat me home? That should not be the
Yeah.
experience that we provide the citizen.
Definitely
That cannot
not.
be the
It
experience.
cannot be.
Yeah. So I have a strict policy of like every conversation that happens in the clerk's office is a confidential conversation. I mean, that's my staff sign that. They acknowledge that. It may be public record, but it's not coming from our lips. I mean, these are families, these are lives, these are people's lives. And, you just don't, that's bad business.
It is.
I mean,
And that position of being in the clerk's office, the world thinks, oh, they know everything, and everything they tell you is the truth. Well, we may not know the full truth from the beginning of a filing, and you just, another aspect of why you can't talk about that or anything that happens in the courthouse out. And my team is very good about that as far as I know.
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
give them the speech that if they want to dive into a case that bad and be that nosy, they can go downstairs and work for the prosecutor. But in the clerk's office, our job is to file it, preserve it, and protect it.
Right.
Yeah.
that's right.
If they're not interested in that, they can go find somewhere else to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll probably wrap up here real quick, but before we do, just want to hear kind of what's your favorite part of the job from each of you.
I like my people that work with me. They really brighten the day when I walk in the door. Knowing how nice they are to all the people that come through helps a lot. The fact that they all take their job seriously and dig in and find out what they need to know in order to answer people and to help the people that I like helping.
Very
Is, I
good.
guess, my favorite.
Well, I definitely love the ladies that work for me. I love working with all the different agencies, like the judges, the prosecutors, the public defenders, all the attorneys, their staff. A lot of times I miss the days where we didn't have electronic filing and everything wasn't so digital. And, you didn't just know the attorneys that came in, you knew their assistant, Linda, and that she was married to Steve, and they had 2 kids, and they had a grandbaby on the way. I mean, you knew everything because people just came in and talked, and that camaraderie, and I miss that because I've seen it go from how it used to be to how it is now. So I miss that part of the job. But as far as just for me on a professional level, it's the watching. The challenge has always been preserve the record, keeping the old, but progressing to the new. Keeping what our job is as the record keeper. Keeping just finding that balance between the two, keeping the old, moving to the new, and keeping the integrity of it. And watching it progress in the different projects, like done many projects with GoFile. And it just really, it's just rewarding to see that, come to fruition and see how much you've accomplished. And that part of it's very rewarding. And then the public, I mean, you might help 10 people and you might have one that writes you a letter, an email when they leave your office, or, send you a message on Facebook and said, "Hey, I came into your office today and your staff was so nice and they were so great." And, that is worth it. I mean, it's worth it just being there and serving.
It's worth all the grocery store confessions.
Yes. Yeah. I just avoid. Look, now you can do online pickup.
Instacart.
Instacart.
Yeah.
That's right.
A
Or
little,
they can
a
deliver
little
it.
drone will just deliver it to them.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, number one, I would say my team. I ran for office to serve the public, to serve the citizens of Putnam County in this role, but I can't do that if phase 1 is not done, which is having a trustworthy team in place who buys into the mission, understands what we do every day, and wants to come to work with a good attitude, with a smile on their face. That's actually hard to find if y'all didn't believe that.
Yeah.
It's actually hard to find those simple few characteristics. But once you get past that, building the relationships with the citizens, our judges and colleagues, because we work with a vast array of people. I mean, almost every aspect of the clerk's office, of the county, we
Touches the
we
clerk's
touch it.
office.
Whether
Yeah.
it's planning and zoning, the tax assessor, the tax commissioner, the sheriff's office, your police department, your board of commissioners, your finance department. There's all these areas that we touch, and building those relationships is very important. And what it does is it allows us to serve the public better, because when you build those relationships and you have to go to the board of commissioners to ask for funding for a project up here at CoFile, when you know these people and they understand that Trevor's trustworthy, he doesn't tell us that he needs something when he doesn't. We'll fund this project. Well, that relationship is what sold that project to be done. But serving the public and being able to make a difference in their lives, like I'll piggyback off what I've said before, is making their experience the best we can. You can tell sometimes they come in, they got this daunting task in front of them. You can tell they've been crying for whatever reason. They expected the worst when they walked in, because why wouldn't you? It's the Putnam County Courthouse and you're going in the clerk's office. But they left, not necessarily happy, but with a relief on their face that it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Those folks were very nice to me, very helpful. And so being able to ease the citizen mind of a trying situation, and changing the narrative and changing their perspective of what they thought they're going to experience when they came in, seeing their reaction to that, and getting the customer surveys and the phone calls, or the flowers that I don't get flowers, my staff gets flowers, or cookies brought in. We've had citizens want to buy, bring us lunch. So you see that your mission is in place, your team's bought into it, and the people that you're serving feel it. And I think that's very important, and has touched me, at least as being clerk the past 5 years.
Yeah. Staff is key. Staff,
Absolutely.
definitely. You got to have that.
And it's
And
getting
your
harder.
family. And your family.
And
It's
I-
not hard. It is very hard for them to tie, like you said earlier, Trevor, I mean, they didn't sign on for this.
That's
I
right.
mean, and
It's tough.
being yeah,
It's tough. It's tough on family, especially if you're married with kids. Even outside the campaign, there's things that are going to happen in your community, decisions you're going to have to make as clerk or any leadership position. Um, does it? It's not your decision's not always popular. Sometimes you have to go against the grain. Um, but you trust God as far as what your pathway is, and you make a decision to pursue it, and you may get some negative feedback from that. And like I said before, we're built a little different because we chose to be on a ballot. We understand what comes with that sacrifice, but your family is a different ball game, and your spouses are set up to protect you, they think. And um, you know, as for my wife, I know reading the Eaton Messenger with the op-eds or the letters to the editor when I'm running for office about you know things that people are writing in there that are lies that they have to deal with that, where it doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
right.
I can just turn the page and it doesn't bother me at all. That's not the same for your family, and so that is a challenge. But I will say that since being in office, my clerk family, I feel like we're all a family. All of our spouses
Yeah.
know each other. They get to spend time with each other. When we go to trainings and stuff like that. But then my staff, and my child, I have a 1.5-year-old, and I have one on the way in November. She's got to grow up in the clerk's office, which is very rewarding for me. She can walk around the courthouse like she owns a place, and so that's rewarding too. Is being able to once all the dust settles and you're in office, letting your family see what you do, see what mom and dad do. I think is very important too.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap it there. You guys have been an absolute joy to have in, and really enjoyed the candor and the conversation, and kind of sharing how your offices kind of act as the backbone of the county in some instances, which they do. So again, thanks for coming in. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much
Thanks,
for
Chris.
having us.
Love the stories.
Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Mic check. It's co-file Chris with the clarity, breaking down the system like a tech barbarity. Civic Hub's live surfing knowledge like a tsunami, rolling through the info smooth Maserati. Civic vibes, we innovate and elevate. Local government shift, let's recalibrate. Tech meets transparency, the gap we abbreviate. Civic Hub anthem, come participate. Street lights buzzing, city halls we navigate. Machines in the council throwing out the candidate. Blockchain buzzing, Chris gonna moderate. Algorithm steering votes, lines automate. Plug in, gather round his pod like it's holy. Future blueprint drafted digitally solely. Ideas hatch quick, think it's gotta be Goldie. The Civic Hub thrives where the minds all moldy. Policy precision sharper than a switchblade. Red tape slayer, break it open with the upgrade. AI council, tech dreams don't cascade. We building the future, bricks cut from the data spade.